Ready? Started? Sure. So we get to hear you. Let me check the Zoom, make sure that the Zoom people can speak. Yeah. Hello. They're not seeing your face, so I'm trying to see how to.
Bright morning, everybody.
Good morning. Are you on here?
Am I audible without this mic and speaker? I think it's ingrained in my vocal cords.
Can I go
You guys all here on the Zoom?
No.
Just a couple of months ago,
There was
there was a small religious gathering that happened. And it happened in a local library.
1 second, volume is low. Can you all guys hear in the Zoom? Blurry, video is blurry. What can we do? Or you can. No, my camera is blurry. Okay, that's better, I think.
There's another copy of recording if my voice is able to reach there. Thanks for joining online. Really appreciate it. Never expected an auditorium full of people on a Sunday morning wanted to listen about quantum mechanics. I know I would still speak about it just to my wife if she is just there in the audience and nobody else, but the conversation would be different. So, yeah, about the incident that happened a couple of months ago. It was a small religious gathering in a library, and I was hoping that not many people would show up, but I couldn't find any seats to sit because it was totally packed. And the speaker, the gentleman, was speaking about positive mindset. It was great, but it was overwhelming. The crowd was overwhelming. Just to be clear, there was another talk in the same library by a representative, the educational representative of NASA, talking about planetary systems. I thought that again the auditorium will be packed and I wouldn't find any seats. But it so happened that it was just like me and another guy with this 1.5-year-old baby in a crib. But that's about it. I felt really bad for the science educator. I was expecting at least the room to be half full or half empty, as what happens in quantum physics. It could be alive or dead. It could be like, honey, I love you, but I don't love you at the same time. So, interestingly enough, I didn't expect this crowd. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. And thanks to Vasu brother, Sunaina sister, and thanks to Sangeeta ji and Mike for hosting us. The idea of probing to understand the reality usually starts from the moment you close your eyes to the deeper states of sleep. So why does the existence exist? Why is there something as opposed to nothing? How did the universe emerge? How does our atoms conscious? Unfortunately, in the history of mankind, these questions have been significantly laying on the shoulders of religious figures. But the challenge was that none of the religious findings even proved some of the fundamental tenets of what actually exists out there. So, this is a very small attempt, and by the way, while I was giving this talk, and after the talk, I got a message from Sunaina's sister said, Anirudh, can we ask some of the participants to get their kids? Like, and I went, so if I can't explain to them, I really don't know what I'm talking about. So before anybody asks me if I'm a professor of a college specializing in quantum mechanics, no, my name is Anirudh, I'm just a layman just like you, and probably that's the reason we are here. If there was a professor, probably the attendance won't be so much, because it will be filled with equations. So let's go back to some of the fundamental questions and see how some of the finest, brightest minds have put together some of the ideas that attempts to understand these questions, and what is the link to Vedas. And before we get into the emotional part of it, I just want to make sure that I'm not here to convince or condition us to believe in anything or not believe in anything, nor am I here to tell you that Vedas predicted. So we tend to kind of have this habit of any latest discovery linking to, oh, you know what, it's already predicted. We already said that 5,000 years ago. We said that 10,000 years ago. Okay, which time or which phrase in what Upanishad said this, and what is the ontological evidence for it to match the reality? It's something that nobody questions, and that is exactly what I am bringing and I'm urging all of us to do. And one of the core tenets of probing into these fundamental questions in the right way is essential for us as a society, because lack of which I find, thanks Joey for coming, that's my friend. He hosted me a couple of days ago, thanks for coming. So it's important for us to probe into these fundamental questions in the right way, because failing which, I and many of us have come across certain terms that have been overused and we don't question them, and there's a lot of bullshit that's going on the word quantum. Some of the things that I heard that made me go, what the is going on? One word is quantum love. Excuse me? And the book was actually written by a doctor. Dr. Kathy, I don't know the last name, but she was a PhD. Just because a book is written by a PhD doesn't mean it's legit. So, quantum love. And it talks about two intimate souls that are entangled through quantum entanglement. Firstly, quantum entanglement is a quantum phenomena, cannot happen to sizes above 10 nanometers. So love is love. There is nothing called quantum love. Clarify that. And that brings to another quantum phrase. What is that? Quantum healing. Ever heard of quantum healing? Right? The energy centers, quantum healing through meditation. Let's clarify. Meditative practices enhance human experience and elevate our awareness, and they have their own benefits, but it has nothing to do with quantum fields. There is nothing like quantum healing or quantum energy centers. Let's clarify that. So the word quantum is, there is a huge industry around the world quantum. There are people come on television, talk about quantum crystals. Ever heard of that? Right? How many of us heard of quantum gems? Right? And it's $1 billion industry out there. Right? People emotionally, and my good friend, marketing genius Parthiv Shah is here. Thank you so much for joining. And Parthiv, after this talk, I definitely wanted to touch upon how do these guys market quantum crystals and quantum gems, and turn that into $1 billion industry. That's because of the ignorance society has on the word quantum, and you add quantum word to anything, it becomes emotional, it becomes, wow, it's something mystical and magical that we didn't know about. It has to do with feel, so they know what they're talking about. So if I buy this crystal, my fate is going to be changing forever. Firstly, there's nothing in the universe called fate. And attempting to understand the fundamentals of some of the most contemporary theories, at least from a layman's perspective, is important because we as a society must evolve from this ignorance, innocence, and gullibility of succumbing into something that anybody says quantum. Because that makes us a better society. It helps us progress faster. It helps us come out of the ignorance and question things. And some of us, or most of us, would agree that we are far dumber than our +1 and +2 versions of ourselves. We used to actually do integral calculus when we were +1, +2. How many of us did differential equations or algebra in our +1, +2? Possibly everyone, right? And now we end up doing Excel sheets. Possibly less. So for the next 60 minutes, is that okay that we agree?
In Stature, you only need PowerPoint at the end.
So, yeah, PowerPoint, and even for PowerPoint, we still use gamma node AI. Okay, so for the next 60 minutes, let's revive that smartness that we left a couple, 3 decades ago, and try to imbibe reality for what it is, as opposed to the emotional version of our interpretation of it. Now, that brings me to the point. Why science? Science has evolved over a period of time, and it's no more just about experimental, empirical, observable evidence. No more. I'm not saying that you should not do it. Neither scientists do. Scientists still emphasize on testable, experimental, observable evidence. However, science has evolved since 1920s. Most of the quantum scientists that you have heard of, from Erwin Schrödinger, Einstein, Max Planck, Niels Bohr, they were all classical physicists. They were attempting to understand the fundamentals of reality through classical mechanics from Newtonian perspective. But now what blew people's minds was that none of the classical equations are able to explain what is going on at the quantum level. Now, picture this. We are at medium scale, right? Attempting to understand the behavior of objects in medium scale. I don't know what to call it. Traditionally, it's classical physics, but let's say it's science of the medium. Can we agree on that? Science of the medium goes from 10 power minus 5 nanometers all the way to galactic scales, or at least less than solar system scales. Okay, there's a heliosphere around the solar system. So if this is the solar system, there is an entire heliosphere that is the influence of the sun. So that's heliosphere. So classical mechanics work perfectly in the science of the medium. It was able to explain, right? Why do planets revolve? Why do gases get around each other and then form planets? What is the difference between, why is there a difference between a rocky planet and a gaseous planet? How do objects attract each other? Newtonian physics is as beautiful as a piece of art. But here's the problem. Zoom in. Let's zoom into human scale. Okay? From the solar system scale, let's zoom into human scale. Let's zoom in to the width of the hair. If picture the width of the hair, the tip of the width of the hair, it has billions of atoms. Zoom in more till you reach, through electron microscope, you can see the cells of a plant still reflects photons. So your human eye can still see color inside an electron microscope, right? Let's zoom in more. Now we are reaching frequencies which are less than 200 hertz of ultraviolet. Now, human eye cannot detect color because human eye can only detect color from 200 all the way to 700 hertz. We are zooming in to the point where it's below 200. Human eyes cannot see it. Now, how do we know that the molecules and atoms exist? Because you cannot see them, right? Now, this is exactly some of the challenges that I face when I converse with quote spiritual seekers, that not everything that you experience can be explained. But even atoms cannot be seen. They cannot be experienced too. But they're real. Now that brings me to the point where, now how do we know the electrons, or subatomic particles exist? Because we are zooming in, you cannot see them. Now if you, the way electron microscopes work is they shoot signals, electron signals, and we only capture the atomic signatures that are mapped inside a computer that will help us see the black and white versions of collections of blobs called atoms, right? And now, zoom into atoms. Now we see, so the electrons do not revolve around nucleus, just like planets go around the sun. Very, very two different things. It's easier to understand it that way. That's the reason science books say that, at least the ones that are there in the college or those schools. But that's not how it works. These are basically wobbly clouds going at extremely high paces. Now imagine this. I can swing my hand, swing it back, right? Let's say I hold a baseball bat, I can swing back, hit it, but I can turn clockwise, I can turn anti-clockwise, but imagine me turning half clockwise and half anti-clockwise. I can't. Not possible. But subatomic particles always do that. So the behavior of things that are beyond 10 power minus 9, so 10 power minus 9 to 10 power minus 12, we are entering the atomic world. Now we are at the scale of molecules, how they interact, and atoms, how they interact. Zoom in further, so they just don't tightly, the electrons don't tightly compact around the nucleus. That's not how it works. Imagine this coffee, this empty cup, right? Imagine this is where the nucleus is. The electrons are as far as that yellow clothes and shoes thing. That's how big the blob is, right? And just this at the center is actually attracting that. Now, there are four fundamental forces that ever exist in the universe. Everything that you experience. Your senses, which are not 5 by the way, there are about more than 2,000 senses in the human body, because human brains cannot comprehend those numbers. That's why we say, oh, smell, touch, taste. No, there are actually more than 2,000 senses. All these 2,000 senses, whatever we experience in life, human bodies, the evolution, the genetic mutations, everything happens because of these four forces, and that's the reason it's important to understand, at least in layman's terms, and that's why I titled this lecture, Vedas and Quantum Physics, a layman's perspective. Because as laymen, what do we do? We don't need to solve the equations, but what's happening is there are four forces: weak nuclear, strong nuclear, electromagnetic, and gravitational. So these people, these big brains in 1920s, they were asking this question: now if electrons are revolving around the nucleus, In clouds, in possibility clouds, right? They're not particles, they're possibility clouds. If that's the, ideally, according to Newton's laws, they should revolve, 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 and encircle, come close to the nucleus, and smash the nucleus. Because of the centrifugal force between the electrons and the nucleus. But that's not happening. Which means, if you take out an atom from your body, leave it for time eternal, electrons from your body keep revolving around the nucleus forever. They never fall into the center. Now, how could something have so much energy that it constantly goes on as long as the time extends? Now, I have an exception for that. We're going to touch upon that if we have time, understanding how the universe would end. So the science of the medium, classical physics is able to explain, but the same classical physics, the same Newton's laws, are not able to explain the behavior at a quantum realm. From 10 power minus 9 to all the way to 10 power minus 35. So that's 10 with 35 zeros. At that scale, we can think that space itself starts from there. The space is not infinitely indivisible. Space-time starts from 10 power minus 35. Beyond that, what happens now? Anirudh, what happens 10 power minus 36? The space have no meaning. The space-time don't have any meaning. Now, what about time? Now this, 10 power minus 35 is an interesting number, even as layman, because that's where space starts. Now, what about time? Time is 10 power minus 45 seconds, which means you can divide 1 second into 10 followed by 45 zeros. That is the amount of seconds you can divide time. But there is nothing called 10 power 46 seconds, because time itself starts from 10 power minus 45. Now, so there's a whole, so these people in Royal Society, they formed, they had a meeting, all these Niels Bohr, Heisenberg, and they said none of these laws are working at quantum levels. There is a whole new science that needs to explain the behavior of quantum mechanics. Because let's say I drop something, right? Let's say I drop this wallet, right? I know that deterministically it falls here. But if this were an electron, right? It stops here, goes through this, doesn't interact with the table, goes through this, disappears here, appear here, vibrate, go around me. Imagine a purse doing that. It's scary. Imagine a wallet doing that. It's super scary. But that is exactly how particles behave. Electrons, protons, neutrinos, gluons, fermions, bosons, all the subatomic particles. There is a zoo of particles. There are about 100 plus particles, but technically, if you divide them into a particle zoo, there are 17 subatomic particles, 12 fermions, and 5 bosons, among which Higgs boson, so-called God particle. And I want to clarify that God particle is like, oh, now we have found God. We haven't. There's nothing like God particle, if they just named it. So no, the importance of Higgs boson is very interesting, because I'll tell you what. Let's imagine this space to be, there's a huge party going on with all the party lights, and there's a bar at the corner, right? If the stranger comes into the bar with a lot of crowd, he can right across, go to the bar, hang out there. No problem, nobody will question. But if you were a celebrity, right? If you're a super celebrity, enters the bar, and wants to hang out in that, enters the party and then want to be that bar, it's super difficult because people want to take selfies, there's flashes, there's photographs. It's very, very difficult for the celebrity to go from the entrance all the way to the bar, and that's exactly what Higgs boson does. Higgs boson is a celebrity. So Higgs boson gives weight to the particles in Higgs field. Now, what is this? A wallet. That's what we've been experiencing because the atoms on our hand touch the atoms on the wallet, and we see that this is not me, this is me. And there are partial interactions going on. But what if I tell us that this is not a wallet, this is a quantum vibration in Hilbert space. It's a fancy way of saying the space that we are experiencing can only exist if there are about 20 to 25 constants are the way they are. Some of the constants you might already know: speed of light with 180 miles per second, speed of sound, gravitational constant, Planck's constant, Planck's time. So there are about 25 different constants. Even if you change 0.101% plus or minus, the universe as we know it ceases to exist. We don't know why these constants are those constants. We have no idea. But we know that these constants must be respected. If you mess with them, the entire universe will collapse. Now, so science of the medium, classical physics works. Science of the small, you need a whole new science which is called quantum physics. So you need to ask new questions. You need new equations to attempt to understand the quantum realm, right? And let me clarify, there is nothing like quantum healing, quantum love, quantum crystals, or quantum gems. Let's not fall for these things. Okay, now, we have these equations, right? And we have new equations we have classical equations. Let's scale up, let's zoom out. Let's zoom out all the way to galactic level. Milky Way, center of the Milky Way, there is a supermassive black hole hanging around. It can eat us anytime. And the way galaxies behave, again, quantum physics equations can't help. Newtonian physics equations are not able to explain. So there's a whole new science and equations that are required to explain the galactic behavior and the way the universe works. That's what's called special and general relativity theory proposed by Einstein. Am I with everyone? Right? So the science of the small, quantum physics. Science of the medium, classical Newtonian physics. Science of the large, special and general theory of relativity. But if I name this talk Vedas and string theory, I would have an empty room. If I say, string and superstring theory and M theory, and they're linked to Vedas, again I will see an empty room. So I had no choice but to name this talk Vedas and quantum physics, because it's more relatable. Now, where do Vedas come into the picture? Now, as I said, I do not again want to emphasize that there are multiple competing theories. Let me drive to Vedas, right? There are multiple competing theories trying to explain the reality. Now, reality is reality no matter what is the space and time, right? Now, how can there be different equations in the science of the small, different equations in the science of the middle, different equations for the science of the big, right? You need a common thread that winds these scales and have one equation as long as your index finger that can explain everything that you experience. Including what is reality, where did reality come from, how does Big Bang happen, what happened before it, everything should be explained with one single equation, which is exactly what scientists are calling unified theory. So what is that unified theory that stitches small science, medium science, and the big science, right? There are many competing theories. So obviously, how is it even possible to explore, to understand, because your telescopes are not helping, your microscopes are not helping, even the world's biggest telescopes are not helping answer these questions. They help us get a perspective, but they're not helping understand how the universe has evolved, right? And answers some of the most fundamental questions that binds all these three theories. And they propose many theories, and obviously the only way to understand one unified theory is through the language of reality. How is universe communicating with us? And that's not through meditation. That's through something called mathematics. Mathematics is the only known language to humans or any conscious beings that can help us reach to a space of understanding some of the fundamental questions of the universe. Right? And there are many competitive theories, but there's one theory that really stood out, that shows a lot of promise since 1970s, and that's called string theory. String theory says that at 10 power minus 35 zoom, right? You have neutrons, protons, electrons, and if you zoom in more, protons are made of quarks. There are about 30 to 40 quarks that exchange information between each other. Now, let's say this is a quark, this is another quark. It's exchanging information. Now, this is a gluon. Gluons are exchanged between quarks, right? So that binds protons, that forms protons. But you zoom into quarks more, and that's exactly what the concept of strings come on, right? Anybody play guitar ever? Great, okay. So, in guitar, if you heard of it, you hold the fret, you strum the chord, it produces a certain sound. But if you change the fret, it produces a higher note, right? Exact same thing is happening with strings. The way they vibrate will determine whether it's a proton, it's an electron, or a neutrino, or a photon. So your strings, if you ever believe in God, it's the strings that you should be praying to. I'd love to see a temple, string temple. Interesting. Where the God will be vibrating. I love that. Anyway, the way certain vibrations happen create certain particles, create certain behaviors, right? Now, string theory, but there's a problem. Till quantum physics, there's no problem. Things can be explained in three-dimensional space, and one-dimensional time, which is 4 dimensions. But for strings to exist, now, string theory solves many problems at signs of the small, signs of the medium, and signs of the large. But many problems, not all. But for string theory to be true, the reality cannot be comprised of 4 dimensions. It requires 10 dimensions. Now, let's not be all spiritual and then say, oh, that's the astral realm. That's where gods, that's where demons exist. No demons exist. Demigods will not, there are no higher astral planes where the gurus exist. These dimensions are so small that they're one-dimensional. They're not even 2-dimensional. It's very hard to fathom. these dimensions, so the three-dimensional spaces emerged from one dimension, just one single dimension. Now, that brings us to the most fascinating aspects of what Vedas predict. Now, any religious, I wouldn't put Vedas in a religious context. However, any religious text, if you at all consider Vedas as a part of, if you put that in a Hindu box, which I have my own objections, but you can do that. But there's nothing like Hinduism. Hinduism is a latest phenomenon, right? It doesn't date back 7,000, 20,000 years ago because there is no organized religion. So anyway, but if you want to put it in that box, so be my guest. But any written text, the Vedas actually are considered to be the earliest written documentations ever recorded in the history of the planet. Now, then they were written in Sanskrit, and the Vedas, so any written document, if it's claiming something, it has to explain some of the basic questions that we have about why we exist, why humans, but unfortunately, most of the religions, I would say all the religions, put humans at the center of the universe. We are not. We are an accident. It took us 65 million years ago, 65 million years, mark my words, 65 million years from the extinction of dinosaurs to the early signs of primate common ancestors. So we are not special. 65 million years. It's not like dinosaurs extincted and God decides, oh, it's time for humans. No. Evolution happened. Evolution took its own time. And we are conscious, reflective beings thinking that we are at the center. And crafted organized religions to make us condition that we are at the center of the experience. Human experience is amazing. There is no doubt about it. And I'll tell you the difference. Do you know the genetic difference between a chimp and a human? A chimp cannot figure out basic math. A chimp cannot count. A chimp cannot put a pyramid on top of a cube. But chimp is relatively far more intelligent than many species out there. The genetic difference between a chimp and a human is 0.5%. Now, imagine an alien intelligent species with a 5% of difference between us and them. 5%. Or even 2%. There could be a possibility that the entire universe that we're experiencing is a result of an alien doing an experiment in his garage. Because because baby aliens will be able to figure out the time-space equations. Very baby aliens. The moment they come out of alien mother, they'll say, oh, this is how the differential equations work. This is how the time-space work. And we bring Stephen Hawking on a wheelchair, and said, this is the smartest person on the planet, figuring out Hawking radiation. And the baby alien goes, I figured it out when I was in a mommy's tummy. Right? So, 100,000 potential habitable zones having at least 20 billion habitable planets just within my Milky Way, and it's absolutely foolish to think that we are alone and we are the only intelligent species out there, as opposed to the fact that we are actually the only foolish species out there killing each other for religion, for the belief system, fighting over lands, fighting over petty things. No other species destroys their own species. We are by far the most foolish species the universe has ever created. And if you want to give credit to God, this is exactly the reality. Now, so, science of the small, science of the medium, science of the large. No, but now any written document, if it's trying to explain the reality, should at least come close to what's happening out there, right? I don't have a problem if someone comes to me and say, Lord is my Savior, it transformed my life, and I recovered from a loss of a loved one, and miracles happened, I started to walk. Lord is my Savior. Great, fantastic. That is the personal truth. That is an experiential, subjective, personal truth. I don't deny that. But I have a problem if someone comes to me and says, the universe is made in 7 days, and God just light up, switched on the light. But as a matter of fact, it took 380,000 years after the Big Bang for photons to exist. Photons are light, right? For the light, for the universe to be quote unquote lit, it took 380,000 years. It was pitch dark. There was absolutely no light. So God did not. And by the way, talking about God, I'm not here to prove or disprove. This talk is not about, here's what I know, here's the truth. This talk is about, I have no idea. Science, the beauty of science is that it's humble enough to admit that, I don't know. You're figuring out. We don't know. As opposed to religion says, we know everything. This is the truth. This is the ultimate truth. But the way Vedas stood out is that Vedas also never said this is the ultimate truth. Vedas says this is the reality, figure it out. And there are parallels between the Vedic, some of the Vedic hymns and some of the most contemporary edges of science. And that is the reason I'm excited to share with you what those parallels are. For instance, as I said, the particle table is divided into fermions and bosons. Bosons are force carriers. They're particles that carry forces. The four forces: strong nuclear, weak nuclear, electromagnetic, and gravitational. These four forces, you need particles to carry these forces, and these are bosons. And fermions are particles, subatomic particles, quarks, leptons, electrons, photons, and so on. Now, the way they interact is exactly what hymns in Rig Veda says of Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is consciousness, Prakriti is matter. Now Vedas, so there are two ways to look at reality. Essence precedes existence, existence precedes essence. But at least Vedas has the courage to say consciousness precedes reality. And some of the latest findings of the edge of science point out that, okay, let's keep the consciousness aside for just a minute. Contemporary physics says you don't need consciousness for the reality to exist. You don't need consciousness for the Big Bang to explode. Which brings us back to, or at least, in fact, look at the beauty of Vedas. Vedas say it is the breath of the Brahman. So the reality is cyclical, right? Which ticks one of the three boxes of how universe starts at the fate of the universe. The universe, we know for sure that Big Bang happened, right? 13.8 billion years ago, the Big Bang happened. There are three ways the universe could be fated: big freeze, big crunch, or big rip. Now, what Vedas say is that it's going to be cyclical. So it's measured in kalas and yugas. So let's rewind the time and go back to that cosmic universal state where there is no space, no time. Space itself expanded in 10 power minus 54 seconds. Space itself expanded from quantum scales to galactic scales. 10 power, just unimaginable small scale of time. That's why universe do not have a center. So it's not like a rocket, a firework rocket whooshes into this room and explodes here. It has a center, right? Universe does not have a center because it's not an explosion. It's not an explosion in the space-time. Space itself expanded to galactic levels in unimaginably small amounts of time. So there is no center for the universe. So now you have the question of what exactly happened at the microcosmic scale, where there is intense pressure, infinitesimally high density and pressure and heat. What happened there? We don't know what happened. But here's what we know. Here's what Vedas meant, by the way. That's the beauty of Vedas. Vedas said, this is cosmic egg, which is a soup of space, which is Prakriti, time, which is Kala, and Artha, which is causality. For anything to exist, for the laws to exist, the reason something exists started from Big Bang. And when I figured that out in Vedas, I was like, whoa! They actually thought this through. So, at least, Vedas have the courage to attempt to at least accurately depict. Although, I'm not here to say that 100% of every sentence Vedas say is what exactly quantum physics have figured out. I don't say that. But I'm saying that it's actually, there are parallels. There are parallels with for instance, superstring theory. There's something called superstring theory because there's a particle called tachyon. If you add that tachyon to this zoo of particles, it requires 11 dimensions as opposed to 10. Now that's what's called superstring theory, which Vedas says there are 11 locus. 11 locus. Okay, so at least someone is thinking in terms of dimensions. In terms of dimensions, right? Now, that brings us to an interesting question. What is the fate of the universe? There is either big freeze, big crunch, big rip. What happens? Space itself is expanding. Now, if space itself is expanding, you can ask me, Anirudh, if space itself is expanding faster than light, aren't atoms within my body are also separating from themselves? Makes sense, right? Makes sense, right? If space itself is expanding out there, beyond the observable universe, so it's stretching. Obviously, so if I stretch this wallet enough, so the particles, the atoms, their separation is also being more, right? And isn't that happening within the human body? I actually brainstormed this thought experiment with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said, it's actually happening, but it doesn't actually happen because the forces are far too strong for the influence of space expansion to have an effect at a quantum level. So that usually doesn't happen. So don't worry, one day you will not be ripped apart because universe is expanding, but universe is expanding. Now, I wanted to invite us to agreeable sense that as a society, it is our responsibility to know the layman's perspective of what the contemporary physics reflects. That includes what are the basics of quantum physics? What are the basics from a layman's perspective of Newtonian mechanics? What are the basics of what does general relativity theory say? What does special relativity theory say, right? And what does superstring theory say? What does quantum field theory say? Loop gravity theory, M theory. say, you do not have to be a physicist, I'm not. You do not have to be a major in physics, but if we pay attention to some of the layman's perspective, because those research papers, they're meant for public. They're not meant only for the scientific community. So it's our responsibility to understand at the fundamental level what is going on, so that our perspective towards, so now, I'll tell you another powerful and important reason it's important to understand these theories. Because we take back the control as humans. That's the beauty of being a human. We are more human with this understanding. We don't give power. And so, for even big, an interesting thing happened a couple of years ago. There's this individual who's super orthodox in Rajahmundry, a southern part of India. His 23-year-old daughter became pregnant, and she was 9 months pregnant, fully pregnant. He conditioned her, took her on a series of stretch of pilgrimage across the country. And she was stuck in a traffic jam. Both the baby and the mother died. Had he ever thought that it's not the God who's going to take the baby out, it's the nurse who's paid a salary of 7,000 rupees a month, things would have been radically different. And most of the society is actually indulging in something supernatural power, some supernatural existence of God or superconsciousness is secondary. Are we living our life to the fullest of our own potential? Is a question that we need to ask ourselves. Are we having abundance in thinking, abundance in communication, abundance in wealth, in relationships, abundance in finances, in intellect? Are we making the best use of the beauty of life that is given to us? Is the question that we leave and we lose that power to something that we cannot explain. And by the way, even the concept of consciousness has no scientific background. Not that everything must be looked at through a science lens. It is, because that is the only way you can experience reality. Science is the only way you can experience reality. Right? So, I'm going to leave it with a note. There are parallels from what Vedas say and what string theory, M theory. M theory is, by the way, membrane theory. It says the entire universe is in a thin membrane, and there are multiple membranes, just like a skin, just like a layer of a skin, that when they touch each other, creates black holes. And that's the reason we have no idea what's going on inside a black hole. And here I want to leave on an interesting note. The future of the universe, right? I'll tell you what exactly is going to happen. 5 billion years from now, sun is going to bloat 10 times larger. It's going to eat Mercury and Venus for breakfast. And Earth is going to be so hot and inhospitable for life to survive. And if we stick to our ideas of something that we cannot explain and keep constantly giving power to some higher consciousness, if at all they exist, we are losing our own power and we will not survive the fate of the universe. We need to be multi-planetary species. We need to leverage artificial intelligence to help us suck the energy from the nearby stars and start colonizing other planets. Whether there is life out there, or whether we are alone or not, both are equally scary. And that's the reason it's important to become multi-planetary species and colonize other planets, other galaxies, figure out this time-space equation, and find a way to teleport from this galaxy to Andromeda. right? And 5 billion years ago, sun is going to bloat. Eat Mercury and Venus for breakfast. Earth is going to be so hot, it's going to be liquid state, so there's no trees, no flora, no fauna, not even bacterial life. And it's going to explode, but it's not going to explode into a supernova, but it's going to compress so it's going to be becoming red giant and then compressing to a white dwarf. And white dwarf is going to be staying for trillions of years. It's going to lose its energy and ability to produce hydrogen, and it's going to become a black dwarf. So we are going to enter a stellar era. 10 power 12 years from now, we're going to enter stellar era, where you're just going to have black dwarfs, white dwarfs, no habitable exoplanets, which are rogue planets rotating, no life. And then from 10 power 13 to 10 power 25 years from now, we're going to enter what's called degenerate era, where all the exoplanets crash into each other, galaxies crash into each other, and become black holes with Hawking radiation. From 10 power 26 all the way to 10 power 100 years from now, they're only going to be black holes. Just universe with a soup of just black holes. And they take trillions upon trillions upon trillions upon trillions of years to reduce from massive sizes to non-existence, because they constantly radiate. It's called Hawking radiation. So from 10 power 120 to 10 power 150 years from now, black holes are going to evaporate into nothingness, and you're just going to have subatomic particles that lose their strength, and protons will be flying across the universe, and there's just going to be proton decay. If proton decay happens, there is no matter in the universe. It's just emptiness. Time continues to exist forever. Time, space doesn't have any meaning. And by the way, the entire matter we are experiencing is less than 5%. 25% is dark matter, and 75% is dark energy that is responsible for expanding of the universe. So we are not special, but it's our responsibility to become a multi-planetary species by evolving our scientific understanding and appreciate the beauty of science and the beauty of Vedas. Thank you so much.
I'm going to do more question time.
I also didn't expect a full crowd even at the end. I was expecting some snores. I'm open for questions.
So you mentioned that time can be divided into 10 minus 40, 10 to the power minus 45
seconds.
Why? I mean, who decided that it can't be divided further?
Okay, so I think I did answer this question during my talk. The laws exist. We don't know why the laws exist. And by the way, that should not give us any reason or excuse to jump to the conclusion that it should be a God. Because that is the biggest blunder humanity has been making. If you can't figure out, put it on God. That's exactly what happened in the early 1st century AD. You can't figure out the reason for lightning, you invented Zeus. You can't figure out the seismic shifts, you invented Poseidon, the god of water. Right? Now where is Zeus? Where is Poseidon? Ra. You can't figure out the behavior of the sun, you invented Ra. The god of sun is the Egyptian god of sun. So everything that you cannot explain, we have this sentimental tendency to push it on God. You don't need consciousness to create laws. Laws can exist without consciousness. Now that's exactly what Vedas said. Vedas said causality with space and time emerged from Big Bang. So the technical answer is, that leads us to, we don't know. Let's be humble enough to say we do not know, instead of saying, God pushed the button. And that brings me to the next question, who created God? Why should a consciousness, or what is the causality of consciousness? If you say that there is a super consciousness that created everything, what is the causality of super consciousness? Give me a one paragraph description of consciousness. And in the entire history of humanity, no religion, no human being was able to put on paper that this is soul, this is consciousness. It cannot be, so consciousness could not even figure out with some of the most advanced math. I'm not saying that consciousness doesn't exist, we are conscious beings. Planck must have been conscious a little. I'm not saying consciousness doesn't exist, but it could be an accident. It could be that it's a result of evolution. There is a very, very good possibility. I'm not saying there is no possibility that consciousness created the existence. But Vedas say that. Vedas say that consciousness created existence. But unless we have some fancy theory that says Vedas are right, let's be humble and say we don't know why Planck length and Planck time is the way they are. Why does light travel at the speed of light? Do you know that we cannot travel even 2% the speed of light, even if we're in the most powerful spaceship? We don't know. And for even if you're hypothetically traveling at 10% the speed of light, the light speed will not change. It's still 3 lakh kilometers per second. Which means if you pause time, right, with the flick of the singular finger, just like Thanos, if you pause time, first of all, you cannot see, because light stops reaching your retina. The signals from your retina stops going to the brain, so your comprehension stops. You can't even see darkness. You cannot experience anything if you are able to pause time. Beauty of it, beauty of science. Causality, we don't know why those values are the way they are. Gravitational constant, Planck's constant, speed of light, we don't know. But they exist. But let's appreciate that the reason we are having this talk is because they are what they are. Because if that changes, none of this would exist. Another question.
Maybe this is a dumb question.
No, there are no dumb questions, believe me.
That's ridiculous. What is it that then we are sure of?
We are sure that the universe is a mixture, is a cauldron of 3 ingredients: dark matter, dark energy, and matter. The entire 118 elements in the periodic table, including hypothetical periodic table elements of udinium, which atomic number 120. So everything that we experience is only less than 5%. And 25% is dark matter, which we have no idea about. And dark energy is responsible for instance, all you people are galaxies, right? You've been pushed. I'm pushing you. I'm pushing you, and you have no idea what's pushing you, right? That's dark energy. That's pushing each galaxy away from each other. And dark matter, let's say that I'm walking blind, and I come across you. I cannot see you. I cannot experience you. But my fingertips touch your coat. So I know that there's something, there's somebody. I don't know what it is. You're made of dark matter, because you cannot detect dark matter. Even equations are not able to see dark matter, but dark matter bends light coming from distant galaxies. That's how we know that galaxies exist. But see, okay, so you're looking at me, right? So, okay, there's a distance between. But what if your eyes perceive me as half curved and half swiveled? So it's not the lens problem. So there's something that's standing between me and you. That is dark matter, and we're not able to figure out. That's what we know. The beauty of science is that we don't know what dark matter is, and some theory would figure it out. But there could be multiple universes with different combinations of matter plus dark energy. It could be maybe 20% matter, at different percentages, the universe will be very, very different. Life will be very, very different. Time could go backwards. Space could squeeze inside a quantum realm. You could be living inside the cell. You have no idea. But there's a possibility that the space expands, but there are other universes at the same time expanding their own spaces. The physics there is very, very different. It's called multi-universe theory. Multiverse theory. Yes, multiverse theory. And again, that's not an excuse for us to put it on God.
So you don't believe in God? Or you
I'm an
are
agnostic. I'm an agnostic. I'm saying that I don't know.
Everything from a science lens, right?
Everybody should.
No.
We have seen enough blood flow because of more from belief than God than non-believers of God.
That's what we want.
And that is the only way we progress. We can only become multiplanetary species. We can only protect, right? So you constantly give power to God. You have one asteroid at the size of this building that can wipe out the entire humanity. You cannot say God is going to save us. You have to have asteroid deflectors. I'm not saying believe or don't believe. I'm just saying there's a lot to figure out. There's a lot to know before even we get to the concept of God. So as if we are all good believers, if you're spiritual seekers, it's our equal responsibility to know what the contemporary theories say. And then you'll come to the same conclusion that most of the scientists say. Even some of the most smartest people on the planet, like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, I don't know. I have no idea. Consciousness could exist. But God definitely did not. We know for sure that God did not push a button for the laws to exist. So take power yourself. We all have responsibility for each other. We gotta help each other. And that's the only reason we can do, only way we can do that is our scientific understanding. I'll take one last question. Yes, finally, I got a question from a kid.
So you're saying that if time stops, then your experience will stop. So what if time slows down?
Clap for him. Did you understand this question? I said, time stops, your experience stops. What if time slows down? You know how you can actually slow down time? Very simple. Get into a spaceship, go beyond 22,000 kilometers per hour, go out of the escape velocity of the Earth, and if you're lucky enough, get out of the high heliosphere of the sun, then you're out of the solar system. Now head straight to the center of the universe, center of the Milky Way, which is, there is a Sagittarius A star. What's your name?
Satya.
Waiting for Satya to come. There's a black hole at the center of the galaxy. Go straight ahead. Okay? Now, here are your loved ones. That includes me. We come after you. We want to take care of you, right? We love you, right? Your mom, all your family, we are coming right behind you, right? But we are scared. You want to figure out. So you enter the influence of the black hole, and we don't. We stay a little away, but we watch you, right? What happens is that you undergo what's called spaghettification. So for you, your time is slower. Your clock ticks. That's it. And it will never get to another second, by the way. For us, you just froze in time. Special relativity of theory of Einstein. You can go read it, or you can brainstorm with ChatGPT. That's how you slow time. Did I answer your question? Kind of. But I will answer more. Yeah. For any question from the Zoom, by the way.
Are there any questions in Zoom? The 10 people, one of them is joined from India also. So.
Wow.
Anybody from Zoom has any questions? Please speak out.
Great.
We can't hear. If there are any questions, we can't hear you. So please speak out.
Yeah, you can ask me what
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm very ignorant in this area, but so the bottom line is don't rely on God and just focus on your own abilities. And what is the bottom line?
The bottom line is that we don't know to rely on something we can't figure out even the basics of it. Before understanding what we are capable of doing in our life, before enjoying the beauty of our life, we are giving away to power for something that we cannot, that is unfigureoutable. I'm not saying don't believe or believe, I'm just saying we are putting the horse behind the cart and expecting the carriage to run. Meditative practices, spiritual practices, all these will help us reach better versions of ourselves, unlock abilities that we haven't experienced before, but not to know the ultimate truth. There is nothing like ultimate truth. The only way we can know the ultimate truth is through science. But I think we are losing power in our emotional connect to something that we cannot figure out. So if we know so much about the scriptures, so much about the hymns of religious texts, is it our responsibility to know equal amount, if not more or less, about what people are figuring out? Simple question, right? So leaving that, we are becoming a dumber version of ourselves. Our next generation becomes even more dumber. We gotta suck up being smart enough, figure out, because we got to handhold each other, guys. No God is going to deflect the asteroids. We got to handhold each other. We got to become multiplanetary species. Yes, ma'am. Please. Okay. Yes, ma'am. I will ask you.
About cosmic energy and quantum physics.
Okay. Again, beautiful question for all of us. There is nothing like quantum energy. Cosmic energy, cosmic healing, energies, chakras, there's nothing like it. I'm sorry to break your bubble. Cosmic energy, so energy can be quantized. So if someone is telling me there is chakras, I tell them what is the joules, how is it quantified? You only quantify energy with joules. Tell me how many electron volts is that energy? They don't have an answer, but that's how you measure energy, right? So cosmic energy is a fancy word someone is trying to sell you into, okay? But here's what is real. There is quantum fluctuations in the space-time. If you zoom in, if you leave, okay, now you heard me say after 10 power 25, 125 years, the universe has no existence, right? No meaning, right? Now you can ask me, okay, if nothing exists in the universe, no matter, zero matter, there's no energy, the entropy is maxed out, what happens? So if you give it enough time, infinite enough time, then what happens? These quantum fluctuations. There could be a possibility, there's a very good possibility that if time ever is infinite, then there is another expansion that's going to happen because of random, probabilistic, stochastic reason. But that's not cosmic consciousness. Don't get into these buzzwords. So if someone comes to you with a quantum wand, they're saying that I'm going to take out all the negative energies from your body, all the trauma. Say, I'm a very positive guy. I'm happy. Thank you.
What is a quantum computers?
Quantum computers is real.
That's real.
Quantum computers are real. So what's happening is that we only have zeros and ones, right? Quantum computers are in qubits that says possibility states. So electron could be here, could be away, could be a particle. And I hear that even from these so-called spiritual seekers. I talk to them and say, you know what, Anirudh, you know that particle wave duality of an electron? When you look at an electron, it becomes a particle. When you're not looking at an electron, so it's a wave. Now, electron is conscious. God has created it. No, it's because it's releasing photons. We do not understand why that happens. Again, goes back to the same question. If you can't figure out, don't blame God. To your question, okay, I'm sorry, that's my fault. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Anirudh. I am a lay person. I'm a layman. I'm no professor of quantum physics. So if you ever meet me and say, Professor Anirudh, you say, my dad should hear it. Okay, so I'm no professor. I'm just a curious enthusiast. My profession is I'm an AI coach. I help people make money with AI. I'm a painter. I'm a martial artist. I'm a trained martial artist in Shaolin Kung Fu. I am a singer. I've been trained in North Indian and classical, South Indian Carnatic music and North Indian Hindustani music. I was top 5 in Idea Rocks India. Yeah, I'm just like anybody else. More importantly, I believe that we as humans must handhold each other, be responsible in using AI, be responsible in our allowance of religion to our personal life. Be religious, but keep it personal. Let's not claim universal truths, nor go to people who say this is the universal truth. There's nothing like energy centers or chakras.
I have many questions, but just I am seeing one contradiction. Like you say that you are not believing in God as well, and I see you have painted. Yeah.
I said I don't know. I can paint all that by saying I don't know. You should have a problem if it says there is no God. Have I ever uttered the word there is no God? I said you don't need God to figure this out. You don't need God. He may or may not exist.
Okay, so other than that, so you are saying that there are multiple parallels between whatever in this quantum mechanics that people have, scientists have figured it out, and what are there in Vedas. And one of the things you said that the parallel you find is Prakriti and Purush, right? So what are the other parallels that
the cosmic egg from where the Big Bang expanded. Vedas said it's called Hiranyagarbha. That is the combination of space, time, and causality. But quantum physics did not mention causality. So quantum physics still says we don't know what caused it, but Vedas says causality itself initiated from. But at least Vedas are also hinting us there is an expansion, but it's going to be big crunch, which means technically, according to Vedas, the fate of the universe is that gravity is going to be more than dark energy, which is the only way the expanded galaxies will come back again, like a reverse time lapse, and come back to the cosmic egg, and then expand based on the breadth of the Brahma. So basically, according to Vedas, the fate of the universe is cyclical, which means Brahma takes in the breath, and Brahma leaves the breath. So universe expands. Brahma takes in the breath, universe compresses, and then so it goes on forever. So at least Vedas are hinting there is a big crunch that's going to happen. So technically, dark energy should be more than gravity, which is not. Right now, galaxies are separating far from each other faster. So dark energy so it's not likely that I cannot wait for 10 power 120 years to figure that out and tell you. But all I can tell you is that it's not likely to happen, but at least Vedas have the courage and clarity to explain some of the quantum and cosmic phenomena. So there is concept of Hiranyagarbha, there is concept of Prakriti, and Indrajala. Have you heard of this term Indrajala? It's basically the net of Indra. So that is exactly what loop quantum gravity says. Loop quantum gravity says time-space are basically these invisible cubes from which the entire emergence happened, which means you are a reflection of illusion, I'm a reflection of illusion. That is exactly what Vedas say, that we are a dream of Lord Vishnu. Part of it also, even Advaita Vedanta says the same thing. So we are an illusion, we could be an illusion, but that doesn't mean we cannot progress. Let Vishnu dream, thanks to him. I'm glad that I'm a part of his dream, but I also want to tell Vishnu that, yeah, can I go to Mars and eat food there? Sorry?
Are you familiar with Nasadiya Sutta?
A little. Yeah. I know Veda expert, so again. Yeah.
It's about creation, I think so.
I want to figure out.
Yeah.
I don't want to take it.
No, it also talks about it in very uncertain terms.
Yeah, but I want to figure out.
Now, how much involvement the humans have in the existence of the universe?
0.
Why is that?
Because human evolution happened close to 1 million years ago. Primates never meditated. They were not spiritual beings. So they were common ancestors, and human experience is extremely limited. Let's not link that to cosmic experience, because as I said, Drake's equation says there is a very, very good possibility that just within our neighborhood there are far more intelligent species that are unthinkably, there could be silicon-based life forms. We are carbon-based, right? But silicon-based life forms that could create an entire civilizations just with a look. So there are, again, it boils down to humans. It's important to feel responsible and grow. We are in stage 1 of human evolution, where we are not able to figure out the resources from our own planet. Stage 1 happens 100 years from now with AI. Stage 1 is where we can extract energy from the sun. Stage 2, civilization 2 is when we are able to suck up energy from nearby stars in the galaxy. Stage 3 is entire universe. We are able to suck up energy. Stage 5 is when we are able to go from one universe to the other. But it's possible through AI, but it's again responsibilities on us. But have we contributed to the universe? 0. We are not important. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
For universe is in no obligation to make sense to us. God is in no obligation to tell you who he is.
Again, the limited capability, for example, we said in our own neighborhood, there could be species that exist.
Yeah.
That could figure out things far better than us.
Yeah.
So what do you think as a human being could figure out something? Like, how do you, of course, whatever you see around is all we created, okay? All materialistic things. Nothing that we could not understand that we created, right? Because human created.
Yeah.
A lot of things we are struggling with are like, we never created those. For example, we don't even understand a small, minute amoeba, right? How does it work? Like, not even a small atom.
Oh yeah. We were able to figure that out.
No, I don't think so.
Yes, we did. We did figure out how amoebas evolved from universe.
Forget about amoebas. I'm talking about like even your atom. Right? You're saying why the photons and nucleus. You don't even know how that works. Yes.
We know that the only, I'm not saying we're not able to figure it out. I'm just saying that the only way we can figure that out is through these theories.
We're justifying the existence, right? We're
No.
creating it.
No. We're not justifying the existence. We're just saying this is why this exists. If we would not be using our phones or Zoom calls, from the moment you came here, if anybody uses their maps, it's all quantum physics. No quantum physics, if we do not understand the basics of quantum physics, we wouldn't be using GPS. Your MRI scans are a reflection of quantum physics. Your phones are a reflection of quantum mechanics. Most of our human advancements are with our understanding of quantum physics.
No, what I'm saying is that we are building on a platform that already existed. We never created the platform itself.
Okay.
So, I mean, we are not the creators here.
We are not creators, I understand.
So even a phone or whatever we're talking about,
Yeah.
that existed in another form.
So we used
used
laws,
other forms, yeah.
we understood laws, and figured out a way to make our lives convenient.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is like a very, very limited use of the platform.
I understood.
Yeah. So we
Understood.
never had a platform, right? We are like They put in this planet for whatever reason.
Okay.
Okay. We are using the resources
No, yes.
that's given to us.
Yeah, but we're only using less than 15% of Earth's resources. And the only way we can go from stage 0 to stage 1 of human civilization is if we're able to extract more than 85% of Earth's resources, then we go to stage 1. And then to go to stage 2, we need to be able to extract energy from the sun constantly with Dyson spheres, surround the sun with Dyson spheres, extract solar energy, and colonize multiple planets. We got to escape Earth. We cannot put...
For what?
Survival! We won't survive on the Earth.
Okay.
We cannot survive on Earth. Earth is going to be so hot. 5 billion years. Forget about 5 billion years ago. A nanovirus could kill us. Religion could kill us. We have already destroyed.
Before we go there, right? Why we have to exist?
Sorry?
Why we have to exist? Why we have to survive?
Because we are self-conscious beings. That's the beauty of it. We should exist because we understand the beauty of life. And we are the only species that is capable to understand the beauty, to experience.
How
the
do you
beauty.
know that?
Sorry?
How do you know that you're the only one capable of understanding the beauty of life?
For what we know.
Exactly.
We know that, at least to our limited understanding, we can appreciate the beauty of it. A caterpillar can't.
You don't know that. That's the beauty of life.
We know.
We know. We don't know.
We don't.
You said like
So
never
we
only
have
know
mapped.
that. Yeah.
We have mapped. They have different capabilities, but no self-reflection.
Because you don't have that insight into their consciousness. That's why you're thinking that they don't enjoy this same life. That
Just
we
because
live.
we are conscious, we are saying they have limited consciousness.
No, we don't have insight into their consciousness. Our consciousness is different, right?
They,
How do you know that the butterfly?
They might not have consciousness at all. They might just be. It's a body. It could be purely body intelligence. So let's put intelligence
It's all
and
assumptions.
body intelligence and consciousness in two different boxes. Let's not club
I
these.
think,
No.
Mahesh, let's do it after the informed
Sure,
discussion,
sure.
so probably that's more related to that.
Sure.
So, any other questions from the Zoom?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yes, please, ma'am.
So, with you explain how we can measure dark energy by bending light and things like that.
I didn't say that.
Okay, so are there experiments where we can show the proof of dark energy and dark matter? Yes, right?
We can only figure out with some of the theories and observations. Yes.
Okay, so there are experiments that exist.
Yes. So we are, as we speak, the Voyager has already crossed heliosphere. I'm giving you live news. Voyager 1 has already crossed the heliosphere, and we have sent probes to we have Hubble spacecraft is trying to take photographs of initial expansion of the universe. So just trying to understand how we came to the place where we are. Yes, with observations and with mathematics is the only way to figure that out.
Okay, so you mentioned that light bends, and that's due to dark energy, right?
Dark matter.
Dark matter, okay.
Yes.
So if there are things like this that prove the existence of dark matter,
Yeah.
how can we prove that something like chakras does not exist?
Because there is no, it is personal experience. It is not objective truth. It is not, so it's not quantifiable. So, so we know the effect of dark energy. Anybody with a telescope, you can figure that out. You could put the telescope in the backyard, if it's powerful enough, if you capture the photographs of some of the nearby stars, you will realize that, why is this star, instead of being a dot, why is this a little curved? That's dark matter. You can observe that.
Okay, but before telescopes, we could not observe. So does it mean that before the telescope, it doesn't exist?
We don't know.
Exactly. So maybe there are no instruments today that are able to measure chakra, and maybe later on in the future they may exist, and then we can say, hey, we can measure it, right?
I want to see one paragraph on each chakra describing it in detail with equations. There's nothing out there.
I'm just saying we may not be there yet, just because we don't have instruments that can, some people say such instruments exist now, but it's not at a large scale. Like
No, where I'm trying to get it, we have
human evolution, we're not yet there with the telescope. Just because the telescope was not present, it doesn't mean the dark matter.
I get your point, but I get your point. I'm trying to get at I don't know. I'm saying I don't know. We could, but we have better things to worry about. like spreading scientific awareness. We have more pressing problems than figuring that out.
I understand, but what she's saying is there's a possibility that
Possibilities
will be existing future.
Possibilities are already there.
It's a very good question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
If chakras ever exist, ideally there should be biological papers that should talk about it. I'm really looking forward to it. If there is any university that is publishing papers on all these chakras,
There's a lot of work in this.
I will send you my personal email ID, please. I would leave everything else, leave my job, I would read all that. I want to actually.
Russian, there's a lot of work in Russia and Korean photography.
Ah.
We can talk about it, right?
Korean photography is the biggest
No, but there are
ever.
more that is evolved beyond the photography.
No.
I think,
Okay, no. Again, Korean photography, they're increasing evidence.
We just had a
that's-
presentation from one person who showed many instruments that Russia makes that that measure.
Korean photography is a simple scam that can be proved by a 10th class guy. You don't need a physicist, you don't need anybody to disprove it. The auras in the Korean photography can be
There are more
dismantled.
than photography. We can,
But they use the word photography, right?
yeah.
Right, so I'm only pointing out what they said. I'm not inventing any words. If you say Korean photography and then say there is no photography, you're a human, but you're not a human.
There are more advanced techniques. Okay, we can. Any other questions?
No, any 10th class student can able to dismantle that.
Any other questions?
Do you believe in Vedas?
I believe, I don't believe in anything. It's what it is. The laws are, I can't say why is speed of light. Do you believe it's like asking, do you believe in speed of light? Speed of light is what it is. So Vedas, there are parallels. Vedas definitely enhance human experience at a very personal level. But to explain something that is objective, Vedas have done an amazing job, by the way. That's all I can say. If there are parallels to what the theories say and what Vedas say, kudos to Vedas, and that's the reason I'm here. I would be talking, if not for Vedas, I would be titling my talk quantum physics for layman.
Sorry, do you believe, not believe, Vedanta?
Again, personal experience, not objective truth. Personal experience is very different.
You say the world was created in 7 days. You say it's 300 something.
Yeah. 380,000 years for photons to exist. Photons are basically particles that carry light. So for them to exist from the point of Big Bang, it took them 380,000 years. But if sometimes religious texts would have told me
7 days.
it took me 380,000 years for light, for God to create light, for God to create light, it took 380,000 years, then I'd say, thank you, because it reflects what is trying to do.
In other words, the world was created in
7 days, nothing was there. The universe was so hugely pressured, even subatomic particles did not die. It was just emptiness. It was just quantum fluctuations. There was no photons, no electrons, no neutrons. 7 days in. They got what 7 days, right? No electrons, no photons, no forces, nothing. It was just pure expansion for thousands and thousands of years. Then, with that, back to it. We don't know.
Hello everybody. Hello. Let's wrap this up. I want to give Anirudh so scientific lunch, universal scientific lunch. Thank you so much for that. Even though like there are different points of view, they exactly clear your point of view. Thank you. And the hard work is there. Thank you very much. Thank you for all those participating. So thanks a lot.
So, in the United States,
so much of knowledge or the quantum physics.
So if I'm